Welcome. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for coming. I'm very happy to welcome you to our 10th annual Rochester, New York Conference. That's the hardest thing I have to say. Everything else is pretty straightforward now.
You're fine, Lou.
Yeah, I know. We owe this to the terrific generosity of the Basilian Fathers of Rochester. They do what I ask them to do. If I say it costs this much, they write a check. If they want, I want this, they do. They've just been incredibly supportive. In particular, of course, Father Leo Hessler, who is not here because he's in Germany. Father gets into these things where he commits to going on a trip in July, and then the July trip gets moved into August, and then gets kicked into September. And this is the second time it's happened to him. But he's in Germany now with an old buddy, and he told me, he said he's going to be saying Mass at a U.S. base in Stuttgart. And he said, that used to be a former Panzer training camp. And then he chuckled. And I'm thinking, Father, those guys were trying to kill you, But I suppose, however many years that is, 70 years, changes your perspective on things. But Father, as was in the Battle of the Bulge. Quite an amazing man. And quite a resource for us. Also, Father Joe Lanzalago, who in Father Hessler's absence, has handled all kinds of details for us, and he's not here because he had a funeral to go to in Indiana. So, the real support for this conference, doesn't really have any particular representation, but they're here with their hearts. I really owe so much thanks to so many people. I mean, we try to list them on the back of this silly program here, and it just it can't possibly do justice to all the great blessings that we've received and all the people that have helped us. The St. Irenaeus guys have helped us year after year to help with logistical matters and getting this place set up. And I really have to thank them, even though personally I never say a kind thing about these guys, but they do great work for us. Of course, members of the Rochester Chesterton Society itself, I'm only too grateful to have such great comradeship as we read and discover G.K. Chesterton. And you folks for coming back year after year, in spite of some of our mistakes and foibles. And it's just great to see all your charming faces. So thank you for coming. Okay, right. Our conference is entitled Points of Light, Literary Voices Against the Darkness. And, we kind of do our own publicity, and some of it involves like running around, leaving cards and posters in places. And some places I won't mention where I leave cards. Not that they're disreputable, but they're just odd, and they may catch the occasional person, but I wonder who would ever see this. And I think, I kind of look around the world, it's like, gosh, I think in so many places I'd have to explain darkness. But I look out in the sky and it's like, well, we all know darkness, so we don't have to dwell on it. I mean, it's a given, and we can move forward from there. And that's just that's a great gift. And that's what we're about. We're about points of light. The darkness we just accept, and it's all around us. And our job is to be points of light. The first line of Chesterton that I ever read that stuck to me was kind of funny. It was at a retreat at the Redemptorist Center 13 years ago. Well, no, 15 years ago. A good novel tells the truth about its hero. A bad novel tells the truth about its author. And you know, sometimes Chesterton will grab you here or there, and there's 100 stories around here of people that have read Chesterton, and there's one line or another that's exactly right, and it's said right, and I couldn't say it better, and it's just exactly, and that was actually what grabbed me and prompted me to then steal the book from the Redemptorist Fathers and never return it. But I did actually make good on that, and I confessed it later. You know, Chesterton he understood the value of literature. He himself was a great literary critic. He wrote, you know, and I'm going to give this list, and then Dale was going, you missed 16 of them. Okay, well, he wrote books on Chaucer and Stevenson and Dickens and Tolstoy, Joseph. Yeah. Good. Numerous essays on Shakespeare, numerous essays on all kinds of other writers, and he understood writing just as he understood many things with a tremendous intuition and something that was really could have only been fed by grace. He himself turned out some marvelous fiction in his own right, and in our reading group we studied a number of these books, from The Man Who Was Thursday, Napoleon of Notting Hill, The Ball and the Cross, The Return of Don Quixote, and others. And of course, we have the great benefit of Father Leo Hessler's love of literature to help guide us through all these books. So all this talk about literature is really very Chestertonian, even where we may not really talk directly about Chesterton. His light illuminated a number of lives, and the grace that flowed from the man, you know, affected a number of authors, and that's kind of what we're going to look at today, is authors who each, in their own way, actually have been touched in some way by Chesterton. Great writers, like great thinkers, that have a quality, their work resonates, their voices resonate with each other, and I guess that's the best way to distill the whole thing down to one phrase. They may speak very differently, they may have very different language and approaches, but what they're saying is consistent and true. And that's what makes them worth reading and rereading. And you know, I mean, when we look at literature, we're looking at a cloud of witnesses, you know, and we're looking at so many writers that we couldn't possibly begin to touch the surface about or talk about today. And a number of writers we've talked about actually in conferences of previous years that we can't touch on. We're not really talking too much about C.S. Lewis, for example, George MacDonald, Charles Williams, and then you get into you know people that we've never really tackled. Isaac Seamus Singer. I don't have any Flannery O'Connor quotes to annoy Dale with this year, although I didn't spend much time looking at it. And then too, you know, we've all got our special writers. I know that one of Father Hessler's favorites is Frederick Schiller Faust, alias Evan Evans, alias George Evans, alias George Owen Baxter, alias David Manning, alias John Frederick, alias Peter Moreland, alias George Chalice, alias Frederick Frost, alias Max Brand. And Father's a great fan of Max Brand, and you know, can talk about Max Brand in interesting ways. I mean, and this is a man that wrote 500 novels. My personal little favorite is a writer called Leonard Wibberley. And everybody thinks of Wibberley as the writer who wrote The Mouse That Roared and then dismisses him immediately because they saw Peter Sellers looking silly on the screen. Woodwardly's a writer that I wish I could do something. I wish I could do something to get people to read him again. Actually, The Mouse That Roared is a very Chestertonian novel, perhaps the most Chestertonian novel written after Chesterton at all. It was just that it was ruined by the movie and by Woodwardly's success at it. He had to be successful in writing. He was raising 6 children. And of course, Jonathan Nuke is not here, but how would we honor a writer like that? He was, number one, he was too easy to read, which the critics don't like, and of course he was Irish. Okay. So now I'm at a painful point here. I have an admission to make, and it always hurts. Every year I have this problem of trying to get somebody to introduce Joseph Pierce. If you know the history of this conference, you can remember some incidents where we've had various things happen in introducing him. He's a difficult man to handle. He's a difficult man to introduce. I tried calling this person out, and they wouldn't answer my phone calls, and my phone messages, emails, they went unanswered, and so there I was, and I realized as the time was coming down, I realized it's going to fall on my shoulders to introduce Joseph, and I've done it before, and it's not pretty. So I thought about it and prayed about it, and I thought, isn't this just like life? I mean, here you are, you're trying to get all these other things done, and something falls in your lap, and there's no way that you're capable of doing this, and no way you could possibly handle it. You got this impossible task in front of you. You're the only guy on the spot, and here you are, and it's just like life. It's like, what's a fella to do?
Have your wife do it.
Exactly. I don't know who that was. So that's exactly what we're going to do with my wife.